All right, well, we've just pulled up to the house where we've delivered this 1968 Series 2A 109, and let's go take a look at what we got. This is a new project, and it's going to be a very lightweight project for us in the sense of I'm not going to be doing a whole lot to it because the new owner has a very, very nice car collection, but wants a truck that doesn't really fit in that category. He wants one that is got the patina, got the rust, and well, he got it. I actually got this truck bought for me before I even picked it up, and so my plans to do a full restoration on this are not going to happen, maybe not right away. But let's use this video as an opportunity to look at buying a Land Rover, specifically a Series Land Rover, online. You see so many guys who say, oh my God, be aware of the pitfalls of buying a truck online. Well, come on guys, you gotta know you're buying a rust bucket. If you're not gonna see it up front, then you have to expect a few things to come with what you're getting sight unseen. So let's take a look at this truck and talk a little bit about the fact that this is just actually really, really normal stuff. If you get the right priced truck and you build in the concept of the fact that you're going to need some bulkhead work into your budget, and worst case scenario, build in another $2,500 to $3,500 for a galvanized frame. If you have those budgets set aside, then you're absolutely ready for the fact that you're going to not necessarily have to spend all that money if you do some repair work. So, really, really common areas that you're going to find when you're buying a truck of a 1960s, 1970s era is your mud flat piece up here in the wing is, as I believe they call it, the splash guard, is invariably just toast. You're going to take that out immediately and throw it away. There's nothing you can do with that. The footwell is also going to be in a varied state of repair, but your footwells are going to, if you don't want to keep them with the patina and the holes, those are going to be ripped out too. You can buy those from a few different companies that we have access to as restoration. And that is just a process of getting all the body panels off, getting the wiring and cabling and everything out of the bulkhead, removing the bulkhead, preferably getting it on a jig so it stays straight, and then either cutting and welding or cutting and riveting in the new footwells. This particular truck has all those things to be expected. It does have a little bit of extra love here on the actual bulkhead that could be hammered out. This truck came out of British Columbia. It was a doomsday prepper's truck, as I've come to understand it, and then went through a couple of owners in Nebraska and then a couple of owners in Kansas until ultimately the guy at Land Rover who had bought this last and had planned on restoring it with the local college ran out of steam and decided to sell it. It sat in his garage for 6 months and he did nothing with it. In fact, it's not true. It sat there for about almost 9 months now. Cool thing about this 2A, let's look at what we've got here too, is how much of what you're getting is original. Well, let's talk about that in this truck and know that it's hard to find one that hasn't been played with and tinkered with. Cool thing about this truck, and I do see an interesting little section weld here. This is the detachable cross member for the transfer case and transmission, which was standard on the military trucks. And I need to do a little more research now and see if it ever did come into the civilian 2As or if we actually have a military frame here. A couple of things that have been modified is the front end of this frame has had another plate welded on. It has a different axle. This 343 prefix VIN number was 1969, Series 2A, A designation at the end, and it should have had a 6-cylinder engine, and it should be limestone white. And sure enough, on the inside, it is limestone white. So you look at this kind of stuff and you say, oh, that's haggard. It's not. Not for a Series Land Rover. If you want to drive it like this, you're getting it beautiful, if you agree with that kind of beauty. If, however, you want to get it over to a restoration shop and have us do work on it, this is very, very workable stuff. And typically what we're looking for is going to be down here on the doors. And I'll give you an example of one that we're going to have to do a little more love to, and that is this door frame. We are going to need to go ahead and pull this piece off, pull the whole door off, and put in, weld in a new bottom section of frame after we've cleaned up and made sure there's not a lot more else going on here. So, what's also going to happen with this truck is, I almost guarantee it, this door frame, if it is disassembled, as soon as we take the seat box off, and these rear brackets, this piece here is pretty much going to fall away. And it's not supposed to do that, but the reason being it's going to have some stuff like this going on. So what's cool about this is is definitely a 1960s era truck. 2012 Defender door frame fits it exactly. Now, here's the other thing that you're looking for and where you can expect. All in all, this kind of stuff we're not too worried about, believe it or not, because yeah, there's a lot of the top level gone, but the mid-level, where it's important, is all still there. We'll have to look and see if that's going to come out and get replaced and chopped. Obviously, there's some dings and damage to this one that has hit a few rocks in its days. And everything forward of the rear axle is actually mostly okay. I do expect to find that this point up here is probably in really bad shape because water pockets in the area behind the shock mount, and usually you get some bad rust down here. I'll show you on the other side what you're getting into. An example of an area that can survive this way a little bit longer, but really needs to go. Everything back here is just rotten, and that needs to go. The owner got tired, I guess, of the fuel tank leaking, so he welded the drain plug on. But and then this looks to me like it's a brand new plate that was welded onto the back because he probably had problems with the rear cross member, but I'm not sure. Beyond that, we come up here and we see here is another area that's problematic, where water gets in there, dirt gets in there, mud gets in there, and it just stays, it just hangs out. Not too happy about that outrigger, but needless to say, there is a lot going on good about this truck. It's just that when you're gonna buy one of these, you're just as well to buy it online, knowing going into it what you're gonna have to have changed, and you're a happy man. If you go in person and see this, you might back off. If you buy it online and you're upset when it arrives, you might not be the right person to own a Land Rover Series. You either want it in this condition, or you're the guy who knows it needs to stop going down the road like this and needs to have somebody finally give it the real final love. And that was going to be me. This truck was going to come down apart bolt by bolt and get probably a 300 TDI and maybe even some coilover suspension on a better chassis. But as I say, the day I went to go get it, right before that day, I got a call. Somebody that I know who I do Land Rovers with wanted it, and it came just like this. Definitely not the 6-cylinder. Sorry, that is spec'd for this VIN. It does have 2.4 liter 4-cylinder in it, but it does fire right up and does run actually quite nicely. Brake reservoir is also bone dry, so you may hear from the guy you're buying it from that the truck is probably okay to drive. Let that be your warning. Get a trailer. We pulled this out of his garage where he had parked it in November from driving it from a local seller in Kansas City to him, and there it sat. And when I got in it now in June, the brakes are bone dry. The brake reservoir right there has nothing in it. So I'm going to come back a little bit later today and see if I can just get the brakes rebled and fill that up, and then see where our brake leak is, our brake fluid, and go from there. Beyond that, all I know is the top end sounds really good when this thing's running, and we will have something of a project to share with you all. If I get what I'm hoping will happen here, I will get a chance to take the body off of the truck and get down to the frame. And that's one thing in the last Series 2A resto mod that I did. We didn't talk to y'all very much about the condition of the frame and areas that are rough. And so I kind of thought I would do that on this truck. Regardless of how much work I get to put into it, at least we now have something to show you what they look like when we start.